On today's show, Isaac and I are going to talk about Goran Dragic. What else?
Again.
But there's so many other options to talk about. Dennis Schroder, talk about Lauri Markkanen. Kemba Walker was moved and bought out at an incredible number. We'll talk about that. Get into the Mavs offseason. What else they can still do coming up on Locked On Mavs.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good!
And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and coordinator for the Locked On Podcast Network. And joining me, as always, my co-host, contributor at Mavs.com. The Dragic dude, the one more thing king. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
We're still waiting on Dragic. So this is where we're at in the Mavs offseason, that we're still waiting on the Dragic stuff. The soundboard is back. But
it's never left.
I think, we have some type of time frame because Friday is the first day that all of these deals can become official. We're still in the moratorium. That's why, any team employee can't be talking about anything right now regarding their team and, all the reports out there. But we're going to, as soon as Friday hits, you're going to start seeing all these deals, become official. And I think that's going to be kind of like a little deadline a little bit to push these things through, because the last thing Toronto wants to do, and, Miami and everything, is to, let this Kyle Lowry thing just linger on and not become official. They want to get that thing done. So I think Friday is the end on this. But who steps in first? Who steps towards the other first in this negotiation between Dallas and Toronto?
Today's episode is brought to you by RockAuto.com. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. RockAuto.com, and tell them that Locked On sent you. We want to let everyone know that we're recording this before the Slovenia game today against France. Slovenia game against France. So we do not know that. We're actually recording this even before the USA-Australia game today in the Olympics. So we don't know about that. But by the time you're listening to this, we may have a reaction video up on YouTube and possibly an emergency type pod.
After Slovenia wins, then we'll have some type of reaction.
Exactly. So we just want to let everyone know that. But yeah, let's get into it. So Goran Dragic still out there, still the move that the Mavericks still need to make.
What did Mark Stein say on Green Room tonight?
Mark Stein said today that the Mavericks are. He said that it's still going, it's still ongoing, and then there's been reports. I'm pretty sure Mark Stein said this or somebody else. Listen, this is excellent journalism from me. That the Mavericks don't want to make a trade. They don't want to send anything. They want to be able to accept him as they want him to sign him as a free agent as a buyout guy, which to me sounds like posturing, right? Like it just seems. This is the exact quote. Dallas will not jump into a trade. They're hoping Dragic makes his way into the free agent market. They don't want his $19 million. That could change. No guarantee Dragic ends up in Dallas. Mark Stein on Green Room. And so to me, that sounds like posturing. We've heard trade packages already, right? Like we've heard of, things that they could possibly send. And we've heard reports of, well, they don't want to send all of this. Well, Toronto wants more of this. Like, it just feels like both sides are playing hardball, and they're both trying to figure out, okay, how can I get more out of the other side? How can I give up less? Right? It just seems like both sides are still trying to do this, still kind of locked in step. I think that he'll end up on the Mavericks, but again, like Mark Stein said, it's not a guarantee.
Well, I think there's a hardball going on with a lot of different parties right now too. I think why Dallas is probably taking this strong stance of saying, why are we going to give up anything if we can just get you for free, basically, is, they have the relationship with Bill Duffy. They have the relationship with Dragic and Luka's agent here. And if Duffy and Dragic is telling Toronto, we don't want to play there, like, can you please, like, let's work out something to where he can become a free agent. But if Toronto's sitting there saying, well, no, like, we're not going to do that because we want to keep this expiring contract. Like, we're not going to release you for free whenever we can have this $19 million expiring contract that we can use into some bigger deal later on. So we either going to get something back for him now in a trade with Dallas, or we're just going to hold on to him. That's what Toronto's probably saying right now. So we went over what's happening on both sides on yesterday's pod, and that's where we're at right now. And if you're Dallas and you know that Dragic wants to play for you, Bill Duffy's telling you the same thing. Hey, hold out. Let's just sit. We're trying to get a buyout with Toronto. Then why would you trade something for Dragic if he's going to come for free? Because then it just gives you even more flexibility that you can go to someone else who's still on the market and say, let's work out a sign and trade and take that same package you would give for Dragic to add a different player. You would still keep the traded player exception. So I get what Dallas is doing. There's still a hello darkness, my old friend path of a team like OKC that I'm scared about right now. Now that they've gotten rid of Kemba, stepping in and saying, we'll take Dragic.
Harrison Sanford just reported that a player has signed.
With who? With the Mavs?
No, Harrison Sanford is Danny Green's co-host on his podcast, remember?
Oh, that guy.
Remember last year we spent so much time listening to their podcast? He's re-signing with the Sixers. Just came down.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good job for you, Danny.
So, but that leads me to, I want to get off Dragic because we've been talking about him for days, and let's just wait until something happens at this point, right?
Well, I do think it's just important that OKC now could take him. And this is what
Can you say one more thing?
This is what OKC does, right? They take these vets, they keep them and turn them into something. Yeah. And as soon as this is where my mind went when the Kemba news dropped yesterday morning was, well, I mean, dang it. If OKC is not going to step in as a third team on this and take Dragic and then flip him for a pick later on, and that will be what will piss me off and probably a lot of other Mavs fans if that happens.
What doesn't make sense to me about that, and you said that to me earlier, and I was thinking, like, okay, so Toronto wants something for him. So then OKC gives something up, and then OKC gets something later, right? What kind of asset management is that? I mean, would they get a better asset to give him up later than Toronto would get now from OKC? It's just like, was it marginally better? They get a first-round pick that might be better. Like, I don't know. That one doesn't make a ton of sense to me, but neither did them buying out Kemba, which we'll get into in a little bit.
But we also don't know what Dallas is telling Toronto that they'll give up. Like, what if Dallas is legitimately telling Toronto, we're not giving you anything? Like, we're just going to wait for you to not even that. Like, let's just say we're not going to give you anything. We'll wait at this point. We know he's going to come here. We'll wait. And that's it. And if the Stein report is saying they don't want to take on $19 million, it's like, hey, we're not going to do the trade. So if OKC comes in and says, hey, we'll give you freaking 2 second-round picks for Dragic, we can flip it for a first later on, then that's the type of stuff that I get scared about if Dallas is really confident. So it's still a waiting game. We're going to be in the waiting game until something happens. Hopefully he's a Maverick.
Hopefully Friday when deals can start to become official.
Yeah, hopefully on Thursday. That would be great.
Yeah, hopefully today on Thursday if you're listening to this. So, but let's talk about some of the other players that are still out there because there's still stuff that the Mavericks can do. There's still things that can happen. So let's get into Dennis Schroder. Dennis Schroder's sitting out there. I mean, he's still hanging out. I think I saw betonline.ag had a how many points over under is Dennis Schroder going to score in per game for the Shanghai Sharks next year?
Oh, wow.
29.5 over under.
No, he's not that bad.
No, but there's no teams for him right now. So it is kind of weird. I guess he could go back to OKC. They have room, right?
Yeah.
But with Dennis Schroder, it's Mark Stein reported on the Green Room today. He said the Mavs are not in the Schroder mix right now. And my question to that is, who is in the Schroder mix? Who's interested in him? Where is he going to go? This is one of the weirdest contract years I think I've seen in a long time where he turned down like an $84 million deal from the Lakers. And then now he's not getting like anything. I guess it's like Nerlens Noel all over again.
I know it's so weird because I don't think he's this bad. So and I think he's getting a lot of hate now. You know, he gave up so much of the money. I think now he has to take like the 1 year prove it type deal. He's probably going to take like the full, if he can't work out a sign and trade and he goes somewhere, you know, some sign and trade with, you know, the Lakers, whatever, he goes to a team that's over the cap, then he's probably going to take like a full MLE somewhere for like 1 year and say, well, all right, that's what I'll do and try to, hit free agency next year.
Yeah, coming up, let's get into how the Mavericks could get in on Schroder. If they're not in the mix now, maybe they miss out on Dragic, and then they try to get in the Schroder mix later. Let's talk about that. We'll also talk about who else the Mavericks could still be in on. There's still guys out there. There's still players that could be useful for the Mavericks. So let's get into that. But before we do, rockauto.com. for fear that Locked On Mavs out of context will take my ad read about cars and watching cars and being amazed by how many cars there are. I will not say that I look outside and watch so many cars, but why would you want to go somewhere where you're going to have to waste time, waste money, getting the exact same part you could get at rockauto.com? Go get it right now. Go find your car, the make, the model, the year, all that stuff. It's organized very well on their website. You can find everything available for your car and see how you're going to save money. For example, for a Honda Odyssey, a fuel pump is $353 from a chain store, but $216 from rockauto.com. That you save $140 just on that one part alone. So if you're doing a big job or if you're trying to do a bunch of other things, go to rockauto.com right now. See all the parts available for your car or truck, right? Locked On in there. How did you hear about us box? They know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. All right, Isaac Harris. So Dennis Schroder, his free agency baffles me because, like you said, it's not like he was a useless guy last year. He was 15 points, 6 assists last year a game in just about 32 minutes. He shot, 33% from three, but he's shot better recently from three. And it's not like he was a terrible, terrible guard that doesn't deserve like a double-digit millions, contract per year, I think. And so now he's left with not many options. And the Mavericks, according to Stein, are not in the mix for him. But if the Mavericks did try to get in the mix for him, how could they possibly add him or get Schroder?
Oh, well, I mean, I think we'll talk about marketing in a little bit. Depends on if they'll just lower their price. I think this is the whole, the possibility of like the Bullock sign and trade, with the Knicks, and could they do that and then take Bullock into the trade exception? And then, then could they do the whole, Schroder for the full MLE, like they, like we think they're doing for Bullock right now. So at that point, I mean, that's a big pride hit for Schroder of saying
huge
9 to 10 million there, for a couple seasons. But, is it a 1-year type deal for Schroder? Could they work out a sign and trade with the Lakers? And could you present the same thing? Which, I mean, I know the Lakers have 1 million people on the roster at this point, but would the Lakers take back somebody? Would the Lakers want Dwight Powell, even though they have Dwight Howard and AD and Gasol? What else is there for the Lakers that Dallas would, anyway, it's hard. It's honestly hard to figure that out, especially if he's not willing to do like MLE type money.
Yeah, so it would be difficult, which is probably why they're not in the mix right now, because probably his agent's still trying to save face and be like, no, we can't do that deal because you wouldn't make near as much money. But he's not going to make near as much money anywhere, I guess, at this point. So
yeah,
it's just a really, really strange thing for him.
And their roster is weird, like to where, like, let's say Kelly Oubre, like what if the Warriors want to do a sign and trade with Kelly Oubre to Dallas, and it's around that same like price as like Dwight's contract. Like, I could see Dwight Powell fitting on the Warriors better than Dwight Powell fitting on the Lakers.
The problem with all these teams, these really weird free agency deals for Schroder, for Kelly Oubre, like you said, and Lauri Markkanen. The problem with all these teams is they got a buttload of salary, right? Like, Lakers are going to be in the tax. I think Warriors are in the luxury tax. The Bulls are going to be in the tax, right? With DeRozan making $28 million a year. Like, they're definitely going to be there. And so, doing a sign and trade with these kind of guys, if they bring back any money at all, then all of a sudden that costs them way more than it's worth, I think, for what the Mavericks can give up. So that's what makes it a little bit more complicated, which is why it's not like, well, why don't the Mavs just go get Schroder? It's not really as easy as that, because some of these teams are paying more money right now, paying in the luxury tax and the regular tax.
Yeah. Just a reminder,
than the Raptors are for Dragic, right? For example.
Yeah, and it's just a reminder of how, like, I've seen even today, somebody sent us a tweet of somebody with like updated cap sheets and stuff, and it was like, all right, well, it says right here Dallas has 10 to 12 million. Like, that's not, like, you either, like, they have the traded player exception, they have these players going into these exceptions because they're operating as a team over the cap, therefore you don't have the cap space. So it's tricky how it's all working. I would not operate. This is the safe way to say, I would not say you're going to operate as a fan right now thinking that Dallas has 10 to 14 million to spend in cap space right now. That's just not accurate.
No, because they literally could not use it.
Exactly.
And still keep Reggie Bullock and Sterling Brown, right? Like,
yeah. So
just doesn't work like that.
It does.
Complicated. I know. I've had a lot of CBA questions over the last couple of days. CBA Mavs on Twitter has done a great job of covering all this, I think.
Dude's just out there answering questions left and right. He's just.
We don't know who he is. We don't know where he came from. Maybe he came from the Larry Kuhn School of Salary Cap, the sports business classroom. Shout out.
Maybe it's Andrew Baker.
Ooh.
Where's
burner.
the button? Where's the button?
That's quite an obvious burner account, though. That's a very obvious burner if it's going to be Andrew Baker.
Hopefully Andrew does not have that time.
So who else is in the mix? We mentioned Kelly Oubre. I mean, what would Kelly Oubre be able to take from the Mavericks? I mean, they could do the sign and trade TPE, right?
Yeah, and I wouldn't be opposed to bringing Oubre on for the sign and trade TPE if you want to do Bullock into that, and I'm not opposed to that. If they could get Oubre, especially at a cheaper cost, I know you have a custom Oubre jersey that you're waiting to put up on your bookshelf, but
I'm ready to burn it when he's terrible for the Mavs. I'm just kidding.
When he's terrible, don't do that. But yeah, I mean, that's it. It seems like the Warriors route, they don't want to add a ton of money. And, with their move of, Eric Paschall today to Utah, I seen it, that shed, I forgot how much money. I think it was like over 10 million, maybe even 20 million in tax money just shedding his contract.
That's what we're talking about when it's like these players like, oh, just do a trade, just do a sign and trade. Okay, if the Warriors bring back any money at all, then all of a sudden they're still paying out the lake up for that.
That it's just everything hinges on the Dragic situation right now for Dallas.
Yeah.
And to where if they can add Dragic, and that's where you get Dallas is thinking about this. And this is just the reminder of, can we wait for the week to end? Can we wait for the dust to settle before we have a full, complete opinion about this Mavs offseason? Like, that's all I'm trying to say. Like, right now, I mean, I said it on yesterday's podcast. If this is how it ends, this is like the Mavs bunting and them barely getting the first base. It's not a complete strikeout, but like they got marginally better with like Reggie Bullock, Sterling Brown, whatever.
Bring him back, Tim.
It's just not the home run that we wanted in Lauri or a bigger name. But let's wait. Like, let's wait to see if it's a double or even a triple. Like, how would the fan base feel if they get Dragic on a minimum contract and then they trade Dwight and something else and a sign and trade for Lauri Markkanen, and then they add another like vet and a vet minimum, and we're still walking out of this with like Schroder, Markkanen, and some other like vet, Andre Iguodala. What I'm just like there's still a pathway for them to add one or two more names to this that I think could reshape some of the fan base's kind of opinion on this offseason.
Stuff could still happen, right?
I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying let's just wait to see until the dust settles before we really have a strong opinion. At least that's what I'm doing.
But will we? Will we do that, Isaac?
Wait for the dust to settle? It's hard. It's hard. I mean, Nick just corrected me before the pod. He was like, hey, we still got a few more time.
I did do that.
Because I said one of those statements too of like, oh, dang, now's the time to – it's like, let's just wait it out. Let's just see what they pull off.
Can we wait? And also, I mean, I've been thinking about this team a lot. Like, they're not going to play Kawhi in the playoffs again, so that's an improvement.
Fans don't want to hear this, Nick.
I'm just saying, I think the Lakers got worse in the playoffs with all the moves that they made. So I think that's an improvement for the Mavericks. Did the Jazz get better? Did the Suns get better?
Can we just be honest and say if the Mavericks run this exact same team that they have under contract right now, they're still probably a top 6 team in the West?
Yeah.
Clip that. I don't care if y'all clip it or not. Sure.
No, I don't think anyone's saying they got worse. Plus, you're probably not going to have to deal with a whole 2 months of COVID again for the Mavericks. That really derailed this team a lot. It derailed Brunson. It derailed Josh Richardson. It derailed Dorian a little bit. Dorian recovered better than the other two. But, there's a lot of different things. KP going into the season healthy. I know it's been used to death. I know Cubans mention it. Nico's mentioned it. Kids mention it. I've mentioned it. Everyone has mentioned it. But that's a positive going into the season. So marginally, you're improving just a little bit here and there. And again, it's what we said yesterday. They improved probably 15% or 10%. Yeah, we want them to improve 33%.
See, right now, I think if you look at the West, I think you have the Lakers, Suns, Warriors, and Jazz as their top 4. And then for me, I think that next group is Dallas, Denver, the Clippers, Memphis, Portland. I think it's right now. But if Dallas goes out over the next few days and adds Dragic and maybe something, they try to find a way to add like Oubre with Dragic or something like that, for me, that could put Dallas in like another category by himself, in my opinion, to where it takes them up a step from the Portland, Denver we're saying Denver and the Clippers in that category because they won't have Jamal Murray, Kawhi Leonard for most of the year.
Yeah.
It's like, I think that could separate Dallas up a notch, not into the Suns, Warriors, Jazz, Lakers level, but in a category by themselves, in my opinion, like the fifth, team.
Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, there's some positives to it. It's not all doom and gloom, right?
I'm sure the YouTube comments will be great after.
They're exploding right now. I can just see them. I'm looking. They're exploding. They're going nuts.
Look at that one. That one's crazy.
That's not going on Locked On Mavs out of context at all. Shout out whoever you are. It's probably Bates. He started the last one. Yeah. All right. Coming up, let's get into the Kemba Walker.
I want to talk about Markkanen because I think it's dumb that he's still out there.
Yeah, we can talk about that too. Coming up, we'll talk about that. But first, let me tell you about betonline.ag. It's the fastest and easiest way to put down some money on sports. If you want to put down some money, I'm going to call my shot. If you want to put down some money on Slovenia in the gold medal game,
let's go.
Go ahead and do it. Hopefully they made it. Hopefully we're recording this before, obviously. You can put down money on all kinds of Olympic stuff. If you need a reason to watch, if you want put some money on it, you can go ahead and bet on the Texas Rangers. They're a 1.5 point underdog against the Angels in a day game tomorrow. Or today on Thursday. You guys can go bet on that if you're just a complete degenerate and you have no self-love because you're still watching the Rangers. Not because you're on BetOnline, but because you're still watching this Texas Rangers team. Go ahead. Use the promo code LOCKEDON. Get a 50% welcome bonus to your first deposit. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. All right, Isaac Harris, let's get into... I want to talk about Kemba Walker real quick because Kemba Walker bought out. He had 2 years, $74 million left on his contract. This buyout is insane to me. It's such a big deal. And we didn't see...
How much did he give up? I haven't seen the numbers.
He had to give up something.
Well, so like Blake Griffin, I think gave up what, 13 million. I just want to see how much of that 74 he gave up. Did he give up 15? Did he get, what did he give up to where, somebody tweeted out today and say, hey, why does buyouts work this way? How can Kemba get bought out? Not Dragic. The player has to give up some money to release from the contract. The team's still going to pay a majority of the money, but it's like, hey, if Kemba's due $34 million, then will he give up 10 of it and you just have to pay 20? He was due 70 something, but still he had to give up a good chunk to leave OKC to go to New York.
And so they worked it out somehow. Both sides are eating something. So now he's going to New York and sliding into their cap space they still had left. And yeah, I thought that was a really interesting thing. Why didn't the Mavericks get in on this?
Well, I just think this was a predetermined move by Kemba and his camp. It was, I think this was we want to go home, or I want to go home to New York.
Yeah.
I'll give up money to go home to New York instead of, hey, I'll give up 15, 20 million to just go down the highway to Dallas. I mean, he could have. I don't know for sure on that, but it just seems like New York of all places, his home to play for the Knicks. You're in the, I don't even know what it means to say you're in the East anymore because they might be better than the West next year. But still, I mean, the Knicks team is fun. I mean, they took that same team basically and added Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier to that team. So it should, yeah. I think it was just he's going to do this to go to the Knicks and not anyone else.
Yeah, it's a decision that he made, and it would be tough for the Mavericks to get in on it. We've talked about Kemba before. He has knee issues, and to rely on a guy like that, I think I would much rather rely on Dragic, even though he's older, than Kemba Walker, who has knee problems and has missed a bunch of games recently.
But at that price, though, I would have signed me up all day.
Yeah.
Like if you were to tell me this morning, if that tweet said he was getting bought out and was going to sign an $8 million deal with Dallas, y'all would have got an emergency pod. I would have been hyped for that. Like that's a move for that price.
We would have disregarded the knees at that point and been like, it's fine. Forget the knees.
Worth the $8 million with no knees. Anyway. Do you want to talk about Markkanen?
Yep, go for it.
I just think it's kind of weird that I know all the reports is just like, hey, his asking price has been too high. It's kind of like Schroder in a way of
him, Schroder, Oubre, and Markkanen are all.
And
the same
you know who it validates? It validates you because you said going into this whole free agency, there's only so many players that can get $20 million.
Schroeder was
And
not one of them so far.
now the musical chairs, the music is getting close to stopping, if not already, with the teams that have cap space. And Markkanen, Schroeder, and Oubre are standing around looking for a chair to sit down, and there's no chairs.
Two of the players I mentioned that, though, I mostly focused on the guards because there's this big group of guards, like these mid-level guards. And Reggie Jackson and Schroeder were two of the guards in there. I'm like, I don't know if all these guys are going to get that money. And both of them are unsigned at that point.
The crazy thing is, I mean, I think of all those guys, if we just lump Reggie Jackson into those four guys, Reggie Jackson's probably getting the most money out of those because, the Clippers can go over the cap to bring him back. So he's going to get some decent type of deal. Probably not 20 million, but it's going to be a decent deal. For Markkanen, it's like he's 24 years old. They gave him the qualifying offer. Is he really about to come back on the qualifying offer and play for a Bulls team that he's going to come off the bench? There's no way in where that they're going to roll out a lineup of Levine, DeRozan, Vooch, and Markkanen in a starting five, because I think you and I could play better defense than those four guys together. So I'm just so intrigued with where he goes. Is it a sign and trade? Do the Bulls, get something back for him? I was shocked he wasn't in the DeRozan deal. And I'm just saying, like, if there's been interest in the past of him, or especially if he's interested in coming to Dallas, I get the redundancy between him and KP. But if you could pull off adding Markkanen in any type of around $10 million range for even 1 year, and it doesn't really cost you a ton, or if it's a sign and trade of like Markkanen for Dwight and something else, I would totally swing for Markkanen right now. 40% 3-point shooter, still 24. Sign me up. Like, I think somebody's going to get him at a I want to say steal if it's around 10 to 12 million, even if it's on a prove it type deal.
Yeah, he's a really interesting case right now. All these guys are interesting cases to see where they're going to go. Who has like, if the Mavericks do that deal and it's Dwight Powell, then could they still get Dragic? They would have to get him in a buyout at that point because they just don't have the contracts to be able to match unless it's Maxey or somebody else.
I mean, would Dallas sign or trade Maxey for Markkanen?
You asked me this question. I was standing in line at a Walmart, which I should never do because the lines just take so long. It's a ridiculous store. I don't want to. You know how much I love Maxey as a person, but also as a player. The upside for Markkanen is like you're really taking a risk there, but it could work out really well. There's just no way him and KP can play together. That's hard to envision.
Unless KP became like a back to the defensive player that the anchor in the middle.
And it also depends on in what scenario. Are you playing them in the playoffs? Never, right? Are you playing them in regular season? Sure, right? They can make it work, but
because for Chicago it makes sense. Maxey's a better defender. He's on a good contract. Like, he fits really well with that team. And then they're having the conversations of, well, dang, is it better when we play Patrick Williams and Maxey as our front court guys?
Yeah.
And so it's just for Dallas, it's kind of like an upside swing. If you pull in Markkanen, who's a better 3-point shooter, probably better all around offensive player. But I don't know. There's just still some names out there to where if Dallas, snuck in and got a player for a cheaper contract, I think, in addition to Dragic, that we're kind of looking at it saying, well, dang, this wasn't that bad.
Josh Hart, another player that's restricted that still hasn't been signed yet.
Sign and trade option. He would be great in Dallas.
We mentioned Reggie Jackson. Paul Millsap still out there?
No, I'm done. He's toast. Watch him sign him tomorrow. But
there's this group of veterans. There's this group of veterans right now that are all just kind of washed that are still out there. Paul Millsap, Iguodala, DeMarcus Cousins, JJ Redick. And then put Wes Matthews sort of in there too.
Well, I mean, another thing we got to look at Dallas's, roster spots right now. Luka, Tim, Dorian, KP, Dwight. Let's just say that's 5. Maxey, Willie, and then you ready for the B's? Bullock, Brunson, Brown, Boban. So
Moses Brown, Sterling Brown, Boban.
Yeah, so you look at those top 5, then you're looking at that's 7 more players on the bench. So now you're at 12. Tyrell Terry, Nate Hinton on 2 ways. That's spot 16 and 17. So they have 2 to 3 roster spots still in flux. There's probably a name I'm forgetting right now that somebody's yelling at me, and
it's probably this.
Boban.
Oh, I said Boban. He's one of the B's.
I just wanted to use the drop.
And then it gets even. That's where it gets interesting to where let's just say they did the deal, for Dragic, and it's Dwight and Willie, and let's say they had to put Tyrell Terry in that. Okay, well then you're sending out 3 and getting 1. So now you really have to fill the roster. So then Dallas is turning into one of those teams at that point where they're signing to minimum guys. That's when they're looking at the Paul Millsaps and Wes Matthews of the world, Jared Dudleys of the world, of saying, hey, round out the rest of the roster.
Justice Winslow's still out there too.
I honestly don't know how I feel about him.
No, I don't think anyone
Like
does.
some people's like, hey, he would be great for a Flyer, and then you see some people who like follow the Grizzlies and like, he's done. So what is he?
You're like, man.
And he's young too.
Danny Green, by the way, got 2 years, $20 million.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't think he was going to get 10.
I didn't either, but here we are. Free agency. It's right now is when free
Mike
agency
Toby,
makes no sense. There you go. Hopefully Slovenia's won and you're celebrating right now. Guys, we will be back. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Mike Toby.
Boom.
Better than Rudy Gobert.